This evening, we've got an interesting evening today. We've got, of course, like you were already announced, chefs and entrepreneurs and everything, but more than anything, we want to keep the crowd enthralled, also educated. So I don't need to reintroduce anybody. I guess we can start off with, basically we could talk about the flavors, and let's, I guess we could start off with Chef Shaun. We'd share our ideas and then we'd probably debate over a few things and then we can go on from there. So looking at the basic trends we were talking about, we said like shaping of the menu without breaking it. Top trends in East India. Like when I'm sure that everybody knows what a menu is, but menu is it's a charter of what, when you say Magna Carta or something, you speak about a menu. Menu is something which basically depicts the heart of the chef and the heart of the enterprise of the food or the culinary enterprise, in which everything is spelled out with passion. So Chef Shaun Kenworthy, could I have your comments on what it is to be when you really are talking about the menus, and also we could touch a little bit on the top trends in Eastern India.
So I think so I actually come from a very different background of cooking. I started cooking very young, and a lot of the restaurants I worked in were very classical French restaurants when I was much, much younger, when I was like 17, 18 years of age, and we had tiny menus. And they're always based around the best ingredients of the day, whatever was fresh, whatever was in season. And you maybe have a choice of maybe 4 or 5 starters, 4 or 5 main courses, 3 or 4 desserts, which obviously in India is an almost impossibility. You can have a menu in India which is 150 items long, and people will still keep banging on about, we need more choice, there needs to be more options on the menu. I think India's changed a lot in the last 16 years that I've been here. I think as of today, we're starting to see slowly a bit of a move away from that, where, let's say, smaller restaurants can really focus in on something individual. So if you go to a place like Bombay, for instance, there's lots of pancake restaurants or creperies, where their base item will be a crepe. And there's lots of fillings, lots of things based around that crepe. And I really believe that these kind of things, for QSR kind of like models, which everybody's interested in these days, I think the smaller models, where you have a handful of items on a menu, you execute them perfectly every day, they're easy. In a QSR model, there's something that is easy for somebody to replicate. It really has to be the future for Indian restaurants. And I'm saying that for the main reason that obviously rentals are becoming more and more expensive every year. Labor costs are becoming more and more expensive. So again, going back to those traditional kind of like restaurant formats where you have a very small menu that's very easy to replicate, very easy to teach to your staff, and you can have a model that might be 500, 600, 1,000, up to 1,500 square feet in size. You can keep a restaurant full on a daily basis, and I still perceive that as being where we're based today. If we look at all the restaurants that are doing well in India, all the big brands that have taken off, everybody's looking for 2,500 square feet unit space, maximum, with the idea, hopefully, of doing around 50 lakhs business per month, although I know in Calcutta that's incredibly challenging. 10% rental model, if that's ever possible, and spending most of that money on your staff members, up to maybe 25% of your business model just on labor. And then you can be assured that you have a great menu, something that can be executed perfectly, and every time your customers come back and they eat that same item of food, it's going to be better, or it's going to be the same, if not better, than it was last time they ate it. Talking about menus, sorry, I don't know how much time we have left, but we were discussing earlier and obviously there's lots of trends that come and go. And I mean, I'm a strong believer that if you're really just a trend watcher and you want to open something that's new and trendy constantly, then you'll always have a lifespan. There's always a lifespan of something that's trendy. And unless you're willing to reinvent that every year or something, then you'll really get yourself into trouble. So good tasty food, good quality, good standards every time. The smaller the menu, the better. I think that's the way forward.
All right, thank you. So basically, we'll come back to the questions later on. So thanks for sharing that. Okay, now the next topic, which will be we'll playing with flavors. What's innovative and what's new? Chef Vikas, if you could
okay, so
get your views on that.
Being the only pastry chef here, a trained pastry chef, I'll give my own perspective. Okay, well, so so I'll give my perspective on innovation. I think that is essentially what we're talking about. So chefs all over the world and in the country are pushing the envelope towards innovation to bring more and more newer and more exciting things to the customers. So in terms of, so these innovations, they obviously also keep changing. We keep with the global trends. Right now, what really people understand by innovation is basically fusion, which is to fuse two different cuisines into a product of one of those cuisines. For example, if I talk of a dessert, and if it's a European dessert, let's say a souffle, and then I incorporate the flavors of, say, the local cuisine into it, I think that will be one of the innovations. While some of them do well, but I think a lot of chefs kind of get it wrong some of the time because they, restraint is the buzzword. So whereas you can innovate and you can mix and match, but what is to be understood is that everything doesn't mix and match with everything else. That is in terms of innovation. Restraint, like I said, is important, but in terms of also what is now, what is now trendy, like Shaun said, of course, there's no, there's nothing if you do not have good quality, tasty, healthy, and fresh food. But specifically, like I said, talking about desserts, we are moving towards there is a shift in what people want these days, and we see it all the time because we are into a genre which is the richer European kind desserts where we use a lot of butter, we use a lot of cream, we use a lot of other things. So what people want these days are lighter desserts. They want smaller portions of desserts. So we've been very successful in doing these very small pastries of our regular pastries, the smaller sizes, the smaller desserts, a lot of organic, there's a lot of awareness about organic food where, everybody doesn't clearly understand what it is, but still a lot of people want organic in their menu, especially in terms of breads. And people are moving away from desserts or products which have more sugar in them, which have more fat in them. That is in terms of trends.
Could I come in a little bit in here, for the sake of the audience also, whatever it is, you've done fine, and creativity and innovation is very good, and you're looking at the value for money, and you're looking at the dish for it to be, trendy and yet value filled.
Yeah, that is true.
But despite that, no doubt about it. That's from our perception of the chef from the perspective. But when you look at the guest, sometimes you make it so well, still it's not a star because it doesn't sell. What do you do then?
Yeah, it happens all the time. So like Shaun also said, that people perceive things differently. For example, I'll just give a very, very small example. And we were doing a research on organic food, and we tried to talk to people as to how much they know about organic food. And it was surprising because most people said that organic food doesn't use any fertilizers, which is not correct. It's just that they don't use chemical fertilizers. And there were other things also. So the awareness is most important. And I always keep saying that we as community or we as people, in India especially, we talk so little about food. So when there's a bunch of boys or a bunch of girls or family, we talk about the next car, we talk about movies, we talk about a whole lot of other things. We don't really talk of what we are putting inside our bodies. So it's very important. The awareness of food, the awareness of what you're eating is very important, as is important as to how that product should actually be. So for example, we make a lot of things and then people come around and say, you know, it's too sweet, or it shouldn't be like this, or it's not meant to be like that. Of course, they are customers and, you know, we are working for them. But I think it is also important with the increasing awareness that people know exactly exactly what they're getting, what they want, and how a particular product is supposed to be. So when we put our best efforts to answer Chef Javvaji, we always do our best. But of course, it's open to interpretation. They're guests, and everybody likes a different, different thing to their food. But as chefs, we can only standardize so much. At the end of it, and I keep saying that, like Shaun says, at the end of it, food should be tasty, it should be good, it should be fresh, and it should be affordable nowadays, of course, also. Yeah.
Thank you. The paradox is that sometimes, many times, despite all that, the restaurants close, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vikas. Yeah. Next, we have another debate on this one from Chef Sushanta Sengupta. If you can elaborate a little bit about the comeback cuisine, like the regional cuisines and the multicultural flavors. We're talking about flavors and reinvented fruits or recreated or whatever. We're not talking about reschauffe, but we talk about reinvented food. So what's keeping the ethnic background and thing, if you could just enlighten us.
When I talk about regional food in India, like India, as we all know, is very diverse and very distinct. So each state or each region in India in itself is like a cuisine. Like it's a body of food that has evolved in that area over the years. In terms of regional cuisine, what I'd like to emphasize is like now, I won't say there's a rebirth or reborn or anything of that sort. There have been few regions in India where cuisine has been popular. Like, for instance, we talk about Avdi food, we talk about the food of Northwest Frontier, we talk about the North Indian food, the Udupi food, which have been very, very popular. So there has been no rebirth. So these cuisines are only gaining more importance, more prominence, and they are reaching out to far more people. But when we talk about the rest of India, because that is just a part of India, but when we talk about the rest of India in terms of region, the eastern region, for instance, maybe some parts of northeast region, wherein the cuisine is still very barren. Like it has just come up in the past 2 decades. Like when we started off with our outlet of 6 Baliganj Place serving out Bengali food, I think there were hardly any restaurant, a traveler coming into city trying out local food. So in that way, it's not reborn. It's basically born in a commercial form, because when we started off with our restaurant, a Bengali food restaurant, people started asking us different questions. Like, if the food that is available all around at home, why should somebody come out in a restaurant to have it? We truly didn't have an answer. Even we were pretty scared at that point in time whether this is going to be successful or not. We were so unsure that our restaurant not only had Bengali food, we had a backup of continental food in a menu. But running it for 2 years, we realized that there was much more takers for Bengali food than continental food. So we realized the potential of this cuisine, the regional cuisines, and we started really concentrating hard on them. And we started studying them, actually what the influence. Then we next come to the influence part of it. Like these cuisines, these regional cuisines have been influenced. Like for instance, if we talk about Bengal, Bengal itself had almost 17 settlers who settled here as a colony. They made Bengal a part of their colony and they influenced our cuisine. And that is how the cuisine got so rich. The biggest influence in India is always the Mughals who came in. And they got in so many new ingredients enhancing the cuisine of what was actually available at that point in time.
If I can interrupt you at that, we'll pause because Chef Sengupta says about his comeback and regional, and people want that. It's beautiful because Bengali cuisine as such, not that I'm here in Bengal, I'm saying that, but it's beautiful because it's simplistic. At the same time, there is variations, there is flavor in it, and you could do a lot more. But when you're talking about French food, about kareem and escoffier, we know about French food, we know about Italian food. They cook the food which they cook at home with the Roma tomatoes or carnaroli rice or, arborio rice or your virgin olive oil and your tomatoes and, but basically, India is a rich country with much more varied cuisines, flavors, dialects, and different kinds of cuisines. So why shouldn't it be a comeback cuisine for the world? It's happening. When you look at, I'll answer that question myself. When you look at England, UK, chicken tikka is the mother dish of UK. I mean, it's not that. So you can see that. So I would say that when you say about reinvented foods or foods which are recreated, even the authentic Indian food is so much which we really should be proud of and to be able to sell. Like when we were discussing earlier on, we were talking about the Italian food, sustainable Thai food and everything. Indian food is so varied. It's full of richness and body. It's not just spicy for the sake where we can dance with the flavors and the thing. So I think we should take much strength to that. Well, we'll move on to the next topic, and later on, maybe in the question and answer series, we can come back.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Let's go to the next part of it, Chef Vijay Malhotra. Well, this topic is something which is in the world all over now, going green, not with envy, but going green. Organic is a new green. It is not really new for that matter because it's been founded before. But how restaurants are integrating a clean and nutritious menu strategy using the organic, or is it just a ploy?
No, I don't think it's difficult to get organic now. And for the restaurant to say it's a ploy, yes, it's definitely a ploy because everybody needs to upsell themselves. And the new end thing is now that everybody is becoming aware because of the media, because of the social media or whatever. Everybody is getting aware as to what organic means, how it can affect their lifestyle, how healthy it can be if in case you're getting organic. And the biggest thing out here is, I'll cite one example. When we were kids, I still remember my grandmother used to sun-dry cauliflower during the winter months. There are a couple of other vegetables also which used to be sun-dried. But today, cauliflower is available 12 months of the year. Can anybody just take a guess as to how come is it possible? It's something which was a winter vegetable. How is it available all the 12 months of the year? But do the seasons don't play any role? Obviously, there is so much of insecticide or the pesticide which is getting into it, which is just changing the DNA of the particular ingredient or the vegetable. So is it not harmful for us to consume it? That's the reason where the organic comes into play. That's the reason where the seasonality of the products comes into play. And we really, it's up to us, the industry leaders or the industry aware people who have to get it onto the table for the people, the diners who are there, to have it and consume it and still feel it's so very safe. That's where the connect of the organic and green is. That is where we need to be completely going out whole hog and maybe use it as a ploy, but make our diners aware as to what they're having is 100% safe. And to work upon the seasonality as far as the vegetables are concerned, but at the same time also the animal produce that we are getting. Is that being fed with the organic produce? Yeah, for example, when we go to the market again, we say it's corn-fed chicken. Is it a ploy by the slaughterhouse, or is it in reality corn-fed chicken?
That's actually to say the crux of my question, which I was going to say is how authentic is this organic when you say, like, I mean, do we really, in India and all of us, do we really go and check? Because that's why I believe that locavore kind of a thing is very good, where we have a 100 kilometers radius in which we could eat as chefs, and with a passion we could nurture a particular area or a farm where we could grow in a proper culture medium or whatever it is, the particular kind of things. Now, I know you get red peppers, green peppers, yellow peppers. There's a motley design and colors all over what's grown globally. We're getting it in India, which is good. Our fruits have gotten better because of the competition. We say you used to go for California grapes, but now our own grapes are seedless and they're luscious and they're good. So how much more are we assured about whether governmental procedures or our own interest in the thing? How much more are we assured of the quality product that we're getting in terms of organic? Like you can say corn-fed chicken. Is it really corn-fed or it is media-fed? I just wanted to know that. Exactly, I'm just, yeah.
See, this is where I know for one that whenever we are finalizing our suppliers, we do make supplier premises visit. So it gives us the confidence that am I going to the right person? Are my purchases correct? Whatever is being bought by me and cooked by me, is it conforming to any standards? And what assurance am I passing on to my diners there? That is where we follow a set pattern. And this again has to come down again to everybody. We shouldn't just go and buy something from the market just because it's cheap or just because it's available. I may tend to change my menus every 3 months or 4 months depending upon the seasonal produce and the stuff which is available to me, and then work with it. But at the same time, the diners also get the option that they are getting a very vibrant menu, something which is very seasonal, something which is safe for them. But at the same time, they feel, yes, whenever I go there, I find something new. There is some creativity and innovation happening. We may not have to dabble with the cuisines and do something from there and something from here. But at the same time, my produce is giving me the creativity on the menu.
Thank you. That's credibility to the core because you're aware of what you're buying, not a spurious product, and you're focusing on the quality of it, and you're assuring the customer that the money he pays for is value for money, plus it's sourced out in the proper manner. So it's good for the farmer, it's good for the product, and it's good for us also.
Besides this, I'll just highlight one point.
Please.
Very often, the number of guests who come and stay with us in the hotel, and we send the apples as the amenities to their rooms. And these happen to be the Washington apples. So, quite often they come back and say, no, these are very waxy apples and there's a coat on top. So we get back to the source market again, which obviously if they are Washington apples, then obviously what is the source? Is it the wax which is allowed by the US FDA or is it not allowed? So we get into that also. At the same time, there's another irony to the same situation. I'm sure everyone will be buying those imported Fiji apples. Please go back home, slit it or cut it and leave it just on the table for a couple of hours. A traditional Indian apple will get oxidized and red within no time. But this particular apple, you keep it overnight, and except for very, very minor deterioration, there will nothing else happen to this apple. Is it the right buy that we are doing? Is it the right consumption that we are doing? Is it safe for us? That's where the organic and inorganic comes in.
More than that, it poses another challenge because right from, I don't want to be discriminatory, but even from China and others, we get spurious plastic products like rice and something which is synthetic. So that's yet another one. I don't want to touch on that topic because time will not permit us right now. We'll move on to the, yes, please.
So I guess as a spokesman for Earth Day Network, which is very much an international organic movement, and I do speak about organics around the country. I think if anybody wants to take this seriously, I think it's all about taking small steps. It's very challenging to do a fully fledged organic menu in India today. It's almost impossible. But what you could do, let's say if you're an Indian restaurant, you could have a small section on your menu where you maybe have an organic roti, an organic dal, I mean, a nice organic sabzi, which people, if they want something organic, they'd be willing to pay extra for it. They know it's going to cost them more because obviously those ingredients do. But I think if you can just start these small little steps, then for sure it's possible to start some form of organic movement in India. I think going back to this whole conversation, it was something we were all discussing earlier. I think really going back to basics, going back to good, simple ingredients when they're in season. If you can keep adding specials to a menu, depending on what kind of restaurant format you have. I mean, I'm always a fan of seeing specials on a menu that would be seasonal, let's say. Something that's best, that's in season. I think all these things are much more important than talking about organic. And like I say, I'm supposed to be a spokesman for Organic India, but supposedly, I think it's an incredible challenge. But if we look at local farmers who are producing food in a good manner, certain amount of there's a lot of free-range animals around the country today, which you'd have to spend some time to try and find out about. But I think we all need to really think seriously about what we put inside our bodies today. Farming in India is such a mass market thing, and I think it's pretty much all over the world, that the amount of fertilizers that people are using on a small piece of land to get maybe 10 times the amount of crop out of it than they ever should do is completely illegal, completely against the law, and not good for anybody to be eating, realistically.
Like Shaun said, I'd like to add something. I think some people know that I'm a farmer. My family is a family of farmers. Wow, and I actually grew up in a village, and we are still farmers. We are mango farmers. But my point was that when I was growing up, and we had all these farms, and we had all these trees, and we grew everything ourselves. And I distinctly remember that I was very small, but I was talking the other day about the demonetization, and we had been practicing it in our villages from when we were little, because we didn't really buy any food. So we grew our own rice, we grew our own wheat, we grew all the pulses, we grew vegetables. We were vegetarian, we are vegetarian, so that part was away. But still, my point is that I, as a farmer, know that it's impossible to sustain organic food for all. Organic food, it requires, so it's impossible, especially like Chef said, that if you really want to have cauliflower in June, I mean, it can't be organic, but you still want to serve it. For example, we have mango trees, and I was aghast seeing that we had mangoes in December this year, and Spencer's was selling it. In fact, I even posted, which is ridiculous, because we are mango farmers until about mid-April. And what that is also doing is that people don't understand the value of certain kind of food. They don't really understand, the value, there's no attraction of mangoes anymore, because you don't really need to wait.
Because if I can interrupt you at that word thing, you talk about value, and because that's extremely important, because now we pay, sometimes we pay quite a bit of money for organic food. Yeah. So we talk, like I've seen mangoes in season, which taste insipid, but there are some mangoes which are infused with something, and there are so many things happening. So when we spoke about the authenticity and the quality of the product and sustainability, so it's worthwhile paying a certain amount of money. You said you did farming, because we don't give too much impetus to farming as such in India. Exactly. And as such, I think we should support every one of us who could afford to support in terms of credibility. Vijay, I think ITC, I know I've got a lot of experience with ITC, because the credibility of the customer, then we talk of triple bottom line and so many things, and that the going green. So when you know about that, that's very, very important, about the authenticity of what is done, the quality of the product, it's not spurious. So it's worthwhile paying a little bit extra, so long as you know that you're getting a good product.
It's absolutely worthwhile. And also, as chefs, we should also support farmers. We should also try and buy the right product and probably charge the customer more for it, if we are able to build up a confidence in the minds of the customers that that food is worth that money. I think it's really that.
No, so we actually have some organic farms around Calcutta. And if you look at places, particularly like Bangalore, Pune, there's farmers markets every weekend happening, where great quality produce is coming to a certain area, and the amount of people that are going to these markets is increasing. Every time I go to a farmer's market in Pune or Bangalore, there's more and more people there every week.
Shaun, it's picking up, actually, all over India, which is something we
So
talk
it's-
about going green.
So it's getting there, but like I say, I mean, for me, I think more than organic, I think just supporting that local farmer and buying fresh whenever it's in season. I mean,
Yeah, I wouldn't even say that the customer has to pay more, but I would say you're paying for the quality, so long as you're assured of the quality, because rather than take spurious products and wreck your system. So we'll stop at that one, but we'll continue with one more topic, which we'll leave it open to the our guests in here, because, I mean, guests sitting on this side of it. Like when we talk about beverages, like we talk about food, but beverages also. There's so many kinds of beverages and so many kinds of things. Like what's shaking the biz? What's innovative about it? Can we talk a little bit so that for the knowledge and enlightenment of those seated around? Anybody, it's open.
so I think the beverage market also has changed over the years. I mean, again, I'm going to start talking about going back to making scratch cocktails with fresh fruit juices, but I know that's a challenge. I think what's really taken India over the last few years has been the microbrewery industry, which as of today, in India, there's probably about 100 microbreweries today. In Bangalore, we're 36. We were discussing earlier on. And I think those kind of things also give you great opportunities. This year, we just started in India's first 100% malted ragi beer, which is so again. I think there's lots of things that we can do within that beverage market to be focusing on quality rather than quantity. I'm pretty sure that everybody here today is more wondering about the quantity market. I think as restaurateurs, everybody's thinking about how we get those big investments with our QSRs and things like that. I think there's been a huge trend for the last couple of years to be serving all manner of drinks, a lot of them desi versions of something that was maybe a classical Western cocktail in 1,000,001 different vessels. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, I spent a lot of my years with my creative mind wanting to play around with crazy things, how things look, this, that, and the other. But I think I'm really starting to go back to basics. I'm sick of seeing tweezers and planks of wood that my food comes on these days, even though I was probably one of the people that really has probably spent more time doing that than anybody else, I think. But I think, again, good basic fruit juices rather than taking things out of a Tetra Pak. I mean, for me, I think it's all about really going back to basic and going back to scratch. So a lot of the times, some chefs in my restaurant say, "Oh, chef, the customers are asking for ketchup." And I'll say, if you make it yourself, I have no problem with it being on the table.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, because even on the other day when I was at the Academy at Bangalore, one of my students says we're out of ketchup. So I quickly made up. It hardly takes a lot of made up, meaning with fresh tomatoes, pureed that, made into concasse. We take the extract out, you add a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of salt and, just a little bit of sweetening. Just you could add a little bit of sugar or whatever it is, like, but make a pure product. So now when you talk about beverages also, there's so much of spurious stuff all over. Now people are coming back to the basics. That's so simple and pure. Pure for sure. Wherever, I don't know, they say it in a petrol gas station or something, but I think pure for sure is very good, because even in India, the awareness, I would say that I'm sure chefs sitting out here in the panel would agree that people are coming back to basics and they want pure juices, fresh juices, non-adulterative, looking at cow's milk and other milk. Even in India, they say it's not adulterated with anything, it's good. So we go back to the man who comes on a bicycle with a can, but so long as the can is not adulterated with anything, with any kind of a thing, it's sanitized, it's, we do the pasteurization, meaning heating it up, and all that is good, but no additives. So I think pure for sure is the key for that one.
I think, again, going from a Western context, lots of French chefs I worked with when I was growing up, and
they pick the produce.
And all the chefs from Europe, and I'm going back and it's still the same today, have a great responsibility in where that produce comes from,
Exactly.
how that farmer is milking that cow, how that milk tastes, how much of the fat and cream they're skimming off that milk to end up with a good product. I think every chef has a responsibility. I know this is probably not a major chef forum in front of us. I think every chef has a responsibility to first be thinking about the customer, probably more than thinking about the money a lot of the time. Definitely in my lifetime, I've got myself into lots of trouble thinking about my customer rather than my shareholder.
Yeah, but giving good product and the right product is value for money. Because when rather than giving a spurious product which is voluminous, so.
But if I talk anymore, it'll just sound like far too much of a chefy session, I think. So maybe we should talk about something else.
So being from the cafe industry, I can only add one little thing about the beverages, that we are seeing a marked trend of the aerated beverages going down. And we see that a lot of people who now come, they do not want aerated beverages of any kind, including sodas. So that awareness is there, and the incidence of tea drinking is increasing a lot. So I represent what we call a tea room, and we have seen that in terms of beverages, we all know that tea is the second most widely drunk beverage in the world after water. We are seeing a marked increase in youngsters who are taking to drinking tea. And I'm not only talking about green tea, but all kinds of teas. But in terms of beverages, there's a very strong upsurge in tea drinking, in fresh fruit juices, in cold pressed juices, in aloe vera and other juices of other healthier kinds. But there is a marked incidence of the aerated beverages as a drink going down.
Anybody want to add anything? Yeah.
Yes, as Chef Kumar just said about tea, I also felt recently I had a visit to London, England basically, and the only thing they know us is through tea. When I told them that I am from a country which is Darjeeling tea, they all started recognizing me. So tea is a fantastic thing. The way it's, you can say it's very Indian. It's something, a lot of people are working on this, and it's a fantastic beverage. And apart from tea, there are also every region of India has non-alcoholic beverages which comes out of fruits, which are not the basic fruits like oranges, maybe there are certain fruits, we have beverages out of raw mango, we have beverages out of, which could also be looked into and should be propagated and should have actually value for it, basically.
Actually, to even summarize that, we could say the Western world is looking towards Asia and India in particular. Turmeric is good, coconut is good, oil for consumption, for the glow on the skin, and even you can use it for hair. The garlic is good, turmeric is good, and then the fresh products which we use like the spices and the chili and so many things which was taboo before is supposedly very, very good. So we're coming to natural kind of things and more fresh and pure and basic products. So I guess we got to simplify things by not complicating it. Natural is always good. So we would probably end our discussions in this note that basically being simplistic, but at the same time being creative, being innovative. At the same time, Chef Vijay was speaking about it. Yeah, as Chef Vijay was speaking about it, the authentication of the supplier and the source, and even as Shaun was mentioning about that we should all endeavor to look towards, like I as a chef, many a times used to enjoy picking when I was in Jaipur and different places, grow my own herbs and pick up herbs like parsley and basil and those kind of things. So pick it up in the mornings, even when groups come, and we know it's going to be fresh. It's the aroma, the flavor, there's nothing to beat it. So we would say that we could close this evening's our debate about this with keeping it simple, pure, and sure for that. Thank you. We'll leave it now. Yeah, if you could start the question. Yeah. Could
I think you have this panel of chefs in front of you. You can pretty much ask them whatever you want. It doesn't have to be based around the...
Yeah, you can give her. Throw it open. Anybody who's willing, you could answer that.
IIHM. Okay, good afternoon everyone. I am Chaitali Mandal, and last year I had been a part of Young Chef India schools organized by IIHM, and I placed among the top 10 young chefs from Kolkata, and Chef Shaun was our mentor at the event, and I was really inspired by this 5-minute dessert that he made right in front of us, and I run a startup by the name The Chocolate Bomb, and it's been 8 months to it. And so Chef Shaun said something about the compact menu, where people have a really short list of things they just go over and they choose and they can place their order. In my startup, I sell about 35 varieties of chocolates and jar cakes of around like the jar cakes come in like 40 options. So could it happen that because there are so many options that you can choose from, my customers might get a little confused, and it's rather better to have a compact menu?
So you were a young chef which year?
2016, last year.
So how old are you now?
I'm 18. I turned 18 2 months
So
back.
18-year-old, and you have your own little company.
Yeah.
Which is worth a round of applause in itself. No, so I think the thing I'd always like to say is have a nice compact menu, keep it smart, where you don't necessarily have to produce that much, but whatever you produce, you know it sells, and you can thereafter have specials that come in every week, every month, whatever you want. You can keep bringing things in. If they work, maybe you can replace something else. But I think a basic menu for the kind of thing that you're talking about. So let's face it. I mean, I don't know about if many people are restaurateurs in this room.
But again, there are a lot of people who like the customization. So that was the whole thought behind
So you can
it.
always offer that. But honestly, trust me, in my 20, far too many years in this industry today, almost 30 years I've been somewhere in the kitchen. If you have a menu of 60 items, you know that 15 items sell. And the other 45 items, they sell randomly. And that's a fact for any restaurateur. That's a reality of the industry. But we have to give choice. And a lot of those items, you'll find that you only sell one item a day.
Shaun, they will lose track. The moment they have gone through the first 10 odd items, 15 odd items on the menu, they'll lose track after that. They will not have the patience to go through such a long menu.
So it's always better to have a
Yeah, so I'm saying if
Just
you're
do it customize, okay. Just leave it to their
You're an
to their
18-year-old.
imagination.
18-year-old, you have a little startup, concentrate on what you do best, I think, rather than doing a million things that you don't necessarily do that well. Maybe 10 items that you know you do well, and you know your customers like to buy on a regular basis. And then if you want to introduce things, and also I think introducing one item every month also keeps the customer interested. It's not about giving the customer a million choices, it's about keeping the customer engaged as well.
Thank you.
One more thing. Don't lose your enterprise and enthusiasm. Variety is the spice of life, but onus would be on you to educate those who are eating the normal stuff, like the everyday stuff. You give them the variety. If you're so confident about the product you're creating, you just let them savor it or flavor it for free a couple of times over. I'm sure when they like the taste hits the taste buds, it's going to be tongue twisting or palate tickling. They're going to come back over a period.
I can also say on behalf of Vikas, I know this for sure, Flurys, chocolate boats, run balls, strawberry cubes, and to a certain extent, for most customers, that's where the choice stops.
I'll just like to say something more basic, and I remember me and Shaun were in another conference another time, and we were talking about this. See, you can't please everybody all the time. What I want to say is that when you incorporate more products into an existing menu, there must be a solid scientific background to it. I mean, one random guest comes and he says, you know what, I like passion fruit chocolate. And you say, oh my God, all the guests like passion fruit chocolate, let me incorporate that. But how many of those will you sell? So what, in terms of an enterprise, in terms of a business, you have to be very careful about your menu, about your wastages, and about that you are able to sell whatever you prepare. So when you add new menu items, be very sure that they actually have the demand to sustain themselves. This is what I would say.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vijay. I just had a basic question to each one of you, or maybe someone who will answer this from in the innovation and disruptive innovation that we were talking about, and to bucking the trend. So my question is, how much time does a senior chef with the responsibilities that we spoke on spend on thinking on a disruptive innovation like tea or coffee or kheer, which I call disruptive innovation?
Could you be a little louder and clear? I'm not able to get you.
Yeah, so my disruptive innovation from my question is tea, coffee, kheer, whenever it was introduced to the Indian culinary, and my innovation here is chocolate momos or fried ice cream. That's the innovation part of it. So, or the bread cakes that everyone used to have and we've been having, and now the cheesecakes, which is a trend. So we're talking about a trend there. So how much time does a chef spend on disruptive innovation and trying to think that why not tea, coffee, why can't there be something else which will be something, disruptive in the culinary overall system? And, how much time do you spend on creating an innovation onto a dish which is already a big hit, like a momo, creating a chocolate momo out of it, or an ice cream, creating a fried ice cream out of it? My question is, the Indian chefs, are they actually, thinking on innovation, or they're just trying to buck the trend? Disruptive innovation also, that's another stage. So tea, coffee, or we'll have to wait for Mughals to attack again for new dishes, or some disruptive innovation coming in.
When you say, I'm not clear about your disruptive.
Disruptive innovation is like when somebody came with tea and coffee, right? So
okay.
is there something in the, from a financial investor angle, is there something coming from that disruptive innovation angle? Or are we going to stick to fried, steamed momos, or ice cream momo, or, fried ice cream, something like that, that is all innovation.
See, in the market, both the things sell. The disruptive innovation also sells, and the classical foods also sell. It's just which side of the pie you want to have. Both
No, it's coming in, my question is coming in from, not from the sales, but we are looking at, is there any disruptive innovation coming in from this whole sector?
Chefs are the basic creators. We always look at involving different flavors from different regions, not only the country, but of the world. Okay, just the way you were mentioning about chocolate momo. Okay, so if that is termed as disruptive innovation, so be it.
Okay. I'm saying that is innovation. I'm saying disruptive in a constructive manner, something completely out of the box and coming in. Disruptive is not destructive.
So what will be the end result of that disruptive innovation?
Something, like tea, coffee, basically that is, that is already there. So something on a third level which becomes a global trend.
Yeah, I'll just like to kind of barge in between, and because I get this question all the time. Now, the organization I represent, Flurys, is 90 years old. And if somebody will come up to me and say, what new you're doing, it's difficult for me because in the last 90 years, somebody must have thought of that same thing some of the time in the last 90 years. When you talk of disruptive innovation, I think what you mean is more dramatic kind of something, or something which...
Which could be ahead of time also.
Yeah, but you know, it has to be, like the lady before you just asked, it has to be a commercially viable proposition. It has to be something, but innovation, like I said, restraint is something that I think chefs, you know, they gain when they gain experience, they also gain the experience of restraint. It's very easy to be, like Shaun said, he was crazy at one point in his life and he used to make, so he used to make crazy things, and you know, you could make a chicken ice cream for all you can. But is that disruptive or is it just stupid? I mean, I remember, and I'll give you a little example, that one of my chefs used to say that when you sit on a table in a Chinese restaurant, there are 5 condiments in front of you. There's chili sauce, there's tomato ketchup, there's soya sauce, there's whatever. You mix them all together and you drink it, it will taste of something. But is it cuisine? Is it food? No, it's not. So that threshold where disruption becomes stupidity is something that has to be understood. And culinarily, it should taste good and it should sustain itself.
So I think you're asking it from an investor's point of view, what the next big thing is.
We are now investing only in, distribution channels. Or
but I'm saying from your point of view, I think what you're trying to ask is, what's the next big thing in the industry, isn't it? So you're talking about, okay, there's been tea and coffee for so long, what's next? What's the next? So if I had that answer, I'd love to charge you millions and millions of dollars for that.
I was coming, my question started with how much time do you spend on these things?
But I think, and I understand where you're coming from, if you're a company that specializes in momos and you want to build an empire, then you have to stretch that momo as far as you can. You have to see how far you can challenge that momo and keep reinventing it a million different times, because that's all you have. And your boundaries is this wrapper, let's say, but however you fill it, however you steam it, cook it, fry it, bake it, you have to keep reinventing that to find out
No, may I come in here? Just one moment. Like, per se, you're asking this question, I'm totally with you on that one. If it's innovative and it's going to be a breakthrough technology, but when you have a momos which is selling as it is steamed and with a hot pungent, whatever it is, with a dip, why would you want to really waste your time inventing another momo? I would rather go into something different than a momo, like you look at different idlis with different flavors. They have podi idli and different thing. You look at the momo, you look at something else where you could spend your time. It's not that chefs are not spending time on innovation or creativity where there need be, where it's already, like in India we had ambassador cars selling for maybe 100 years and it was running really well. Then it was originally a Morris Oxford, but after that there was a 1.6 liter, some engine and everything, but ultimately they decided the Maruti came in and this strong bodied went also to UK, but they dispensed with that one totally. So it all depends upon how much is the longevity of the product, what does the customer need, how much time do you have to research that? Because if the research is going to take much more time than your profitability, it's not worth the research. That's what I would say.
Chef, the lady with the timeout card just came in and told us that we have to leave immediately.
Thank you so much. That's all with the question and answer session. Really, after this Q&A session, I'm just thinking, I'm not a cook myself, I don't have a restaurant or anything. I am your end consumer. For the people who are sitting here, for the people who are sitting there, I am your end audience, your end customer. The next time I'll go to Flurys and have a chocolate boat, I'll just think of innovation and technologies and 90 years of heritage. And I don't know what I'll be able to eat of. That's like really wonderful. So much of thinking and technology and business and ideas go into making that one little chocolate boat. Please put your hands together for all our wonderful chef restaurateurs.
Yeah, so I think we'll probably all be here. This Q&A session was very short. If you want to speak to any of us, you can please feel free if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I would request Chef Ramesh B Javvaji to kindly felicitate all our wonderful panelists, one by one. First, we'd like to hand over the memento to Chef Shaun Kenworthy, celebrity chef and restaurateur. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Chef Vijay Malhotra, Executive Chef, ITC Sonar. Our next friend is Chef Sushanta Sengupta, Founder, Director and Chef, Savourites Group. Finally, friends, our final panelist, Chef Vikas Kumar, Executive Chef, Flurys. Thank you, and I would request Ms. Nusra from Franchise India to kindly come and felicitate Chef Ramesh B Javvaji, Executive Committee Board Member, IFCA, and Director, Culinary Studies, International Academy of Culinary Arts, and past President of EICA.